Secondly, social protest mobilization is a dilemma. It is a democratic right to dissent, to mobilize, to express your grievances, but sometimes those rights actually conflict with other rights of citizens to be able to continue to receive public services, with roadblocks blocking transportation, food, water, emergency services. Do we see a conflict of rights there? And governments don't know how to respond, and the international community does nothing, but doesn't know how to respond. But it's a dilemma of rights there, conflicting rights, individual and collective. Many examples of these where it's difficult to respond. Ecuador and Venezuela, the Constituent Assemblies actually dissolved the Congress. No response. In Venezuela in 1999, absolutely no response. The conflict between executives and regional governments. Bolivia and Venezuela. There was a response in Bolivia, none in Venezuela. We've seen Supreme Electoral Tribunals versus the legislature in Nicaragua and Ecuador. We've seen legislatures threatening the president with various forms of impeachment that have not been deemed to necessarily follow constitutional procedures in Nicaragua and Paraguay. We've seen courts versus the president in Ecuador and Honduras. And then we've seen, of course, the massive protests that have led to the removal of presidents in Argentina, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela. Okay, the third explanation is the new regional context. And this, we have to recognize, it's very difficult for the Secretary General to act. It's very difficult to expect the OAS to act when we have polarization in the region. It becomes with this disagreement over the very definition of democracy, so that we don't even have a debate about it in the OAS. And then, secondly, there are the questions, the institutional questions. We have these new regional, sub-regional organizations. Are these going to compete with the OAS, or is it possible to make the experience more cumulative and reinforce it rather than competing as alternative instances? These are questions I think we need to debate. Some possible solutions, recommendations to consider. The first is to adopt guidelines and indicators to identify what would be actual violations of the Charter. We've been, and this has been discussed over the last couple of days as well, and many of us have worked on this. Max and I have worked on this, Tom. There are a couple of options. We could either go for having an independent group outlining guidelines that might actually help the OAS to say, look, this group over here outlined these indicators. I'm going to rely on that. The Secretary General doesn't have to wait and have it come from the OAS. It's probably never going to come. So he could say, look, here's this group. We have the Friends of the Democratic Charter, for example. So we now have Toledo's group of ex-presidents who want to work on it. We could say, let's rely on these civil society guidelines. Another is that the OAS itself could adopt a protocol with these indicators of violations. That could be the second possibility. And some of these indicators do already exist. A second solution that is under discussion are doing assessments of compliance with the Charter, doing democratic assessments. The options there are to have independent evaluations. A group of academics and personalities, for example, might form a democracy council. If it's independent, if it's from outside, the pro is that it would be more objective. The con, the disadvantage is there's probably less chance of it being accepted by the government. So, a second option being discussed is a peer review mechanism that should include, in my opinion, inputs from civil society. There's a lot of talk now that NCSEEC, the anti-corruption peer review mechanism in the OAS, is gaining prominence, is gaining confidence, is getting stronger. Maybe that is a good a good example. My fear is that when you're inside a group of governments, that particularly a question as sensitive as democracy, it's going to be very difficult for them to even allow civil society input or to allow the naming of experts from each other. And another point that actually comes from Catherine, I thought was very good what she said, but is the neighborhood too small? The UN is a neighborhood of 200 countries in which countries can name experts and not have to be evaluating their next door neighbor. This hemisphere is much smaller, it may be more sensitive to do that. And the third option is to strengthen the process of reporting of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, to make those reports actually meaningful. Okay, so I need to wrap up. So another thing that I think we've got to decide is what would be the purpose of these assessments? What happens? And I hope that they would be seen as constructive assessments to identify advances and areas of backsliding to guide public policies and to guide donors in where to put their assistance. Quickly, the third solution would be being better at early alerts so that we can have better preventative diplomacy. And here I think we need to hear from the other branches of government, hear from civil society. Jorge Santos Esteban has a proposal for a defensor del pueblo para la democracia. Que tal vez that perhaps he will mention. Fourth is looking at incentives, the focus on the results of democracy we've been hearing about. Kristen spoke about this on Sunday, but to focus more on what are the roots of these demands. The people are demanding results from democracy, so we need to focus on this, and particularly the security issues and the social inclusion. The fifth is when we're talking about disincentives or sanctions, one of the problems in the OAS is every time it's an ad hoc, and it depends on the political will to decide on any kind of sanction. If we had a set of automatic but graduated responses required, it would be much easier. At UNISUR, I think is moving in that direction. And there are some examples here. And finally, the last is to look to see how we can involve these new regional organizations and sub-regional to reinforce the Carta Democrática and use their own democracy clauses. Thank you very much.